The studio lights were blinding, and the air felt heavy with tension. The audience sat quietly, their eyes fixed on the stage where a well-known talk show host was preparing to interview a guest who had been making headlines for weeks. The guest was a successful black CEO, a man who had built $1 billion company from the ground up. His story was one of resilience, hard work, and breaking barriers in an industry that rarely saw people who looked like him in positions of power. Tonight, he was there to discuss his journey in the release of his new book, which had already become a bestseller. As the CEO walked onto the stage, the audience erupted into applause. He smiled warmly, his confidence evident in every step. He was dressed in a sharp, tailored suit, his demeanor calm and approachable. The host, a middle-aged man with a reputation for asking tough questions, greeted him with a handshake and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. The CEO took his seat, ready to share his story with the world. The interview started off smoothly. The host asked about the CEO's humble beginnings, his struggles, and how he managed to overcome the odds to build his empire. The CEO spoke passionately about his mother, who had worked multiple jobs to support their family, and how her sacrifices had inspired him to dream big. He talked about the mentors who had believed in him when no one else did, and the moments of doubt that had almost made him give up. His words were heartfelt, and the audience hung on to every sentence. But then, the tone of the interview began to shift. The host's questions became more pointed, almost dismissive. He interrupted the CEO mid-sentence, challenging his achievements and implying that his success was due to luck rather than hard work. The CEO remained calm, answering each question with patience and grace, but it was clear that the host was trying to provoke him. The audience grew uneasy. They could sense the disrespect in the host's tone, and it made them uncomfortable. The CEO, however, didn't falter. He continued to speak with confidence, refusing to let the host's attitude rattle him. But then, the host crossed a line. "Don't you think," the host said, leaning back in his chair with a smirk, "that your success is more about being in the right place at the right time? I mean, let's be honest, it's not like you're the first person to start a business. What makes you so special?" The room fell silent. The audience held their breath, waiting to see how the CEO would respond. For a moment, he simply looked at the host, his expression unreadable. Then, he leaned forward, his eyes locking onto the host's. "You're right," he said, his voice steady but firm. "I'm not the first person to start a business. But I am one of the few who has had to work twice as hard to prove that I belong in this space. You see, when you look like me, success isn't just about talent or hard work. It's about overcoming the biases and stereotypes that people like you hold on to. It's about proving, every single day, that I deserve to be here." The host shifted uncomfortably in his seat, but the CEO wasn't finished. "You asked what makes me special," he continued. "What makes me special is that I didn't let people like you define my worth. I didn't let the doubters and the naysayers stop me from chasing my dreams. And tonight, I'm not just here to talk about my success. I'm here to inspire every person watching who has ever been told they're not good enough, that they don't belong, that they'll never make it. I'm here to tell them that they can." The audience erupted into applause, their cheers filling the studio. The host tried to regain control of the conversation, but it was too late. The CEO's words had struck a chord, and the energy in the room had shifted. People were no longer focused on the host's disrespect, they were inspired by the CEO's resilience and determination. As the interview continued, the CEO shared more about his journey, but the moment that everyone would remember was his response to the host's disrespect. It was a moment that would be talked about for days, weeks, even years to come. Social media exploded with clips of the interview, and the hashtag #RespectTheCEO began trending worldwide. But for the CEO, the moment wasn't about proving a point or gaining fame. It was about standing up for himself and for everyone who had ever faced discrimination or disrespect. It was about showing the world that no matter how hard people try to bring you down, you can rise above it with dignity and grace. As the interview came to an end, the CEO stood up and shook the host's hand, his smile as warm and confident as it had been when he first walked onto the stage. The audience gave him a standing ovation, their cheers echoing through the studio. He waved to the crowd, his heart full of gratitude, and walked off the stage, knowing that he had made an impact that would last far beyond that night. Little did he know, this was just the beginning. The interview was only the first chapter in a story that would inspire millions and change the way people thought about success, resilience, and the power of standing up for oneself. And as he left the studio that night, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride, not just in what he had accomplished, but in the message he had shared with the world. The next morning, the CEO woke up to a flood of messages and notifications. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing, and his inbox was overflowing with emails from people who had been moved by his words. Some were from young entrepreneurs who saw him as a role model, others from individuals who had faced similar challenges and felt inspired to keep going. The interview had gone viral, and the world was watching. But with the spotlight came new challenges. The CEO knew that not everyone would be happy with his success, and that there would be more obstacles to overcome. Yet, as he read through the messages of support and encouragement, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had always believed that his journey was about more than just building a successful company, it was about making a difference. And now, more than ever, he was ready to take on whatever came next. As he prepared for the day ahead, the CEO couldn't help but smile. The interview had been a turning point, not just for him, but for everyone who had been watching. It was a reminder that no matter how hard the road may be, it's possible to rise above the challenges and achieve greatness. And as he stepped out into the world, ready to face whatever came his way, he knew that he was just getting started. The days following the interview were a whirlwind for the CEO. News outlets couldn't stop talking about his powerful response on live TV. Clips of the moment spread like wildfire across social media, with millions of people sharing, commenting, and applauding his courage. The hashtag #RespectTheCEO continued to trend, and his book sales skyrocketed. But amidst the praise and attention, the CEO remained grounded. He knew that this moment wasn't just about him, it was about the message he had delivered and the people who needed to hear it. One of the most touching responses came from a young man who had written him a heartfelt letter. The man, a college student from a small town, shared how he had been struggling with self-doubt and discrimination in his own life. He wrote, "Your words gave me the strength to keep going. For the first time, I feel like I belong, like I can achieve something great too." The CEO was deeply moved. He made it a point to respond personally, encouraging the young man to stay focused and never let anyone dim his light. But not everyone was supportive. The talk show host, still reeling from the backlash he had received, tried to downplay the incident in a follow-up segment. He claimed his questions were meant to challenge the CEO and that people were overreacting. His comments only fueled more outrage, with viewers calling out his lack of accountability. The CEO, however, chose not to engage in the drama. Instead, he focused on his work and the opportunities that were now coming his way. One of those opportunities was an invitation to speak at a major business conference. The event was attended by some of the most influential leaders in the industry, and the CEO saw it as a chance to expand on the message he had shared during the interview. When he took the stage, the room fell silent. Everyone was eager to hear what he had to say. The CEO began by sharing more about his journey, the late nights, the sacrifices, and the moments of doubt. But he also spoke about the importance of representation and the need for more diversity in leadership roles. When you don't see people who look like you in positions of power, it's easy to believe that those doors are closed to you, he said. But I'm here to tell you that those doors can be opened. And once you step through, it's your responsibility to hold them open for others. His words resonated deeply with the audience. Many of the attendees, especially those from underrepresented communities, felt seen and heard in a way they never had before. After his speech, people lined up to shake his hand, share their stories, and thank him for his inspiration. The CEO took the time to listen to each person, knowing how much it meant to them. As the conference came to an end, the CEO was approached by a well-known investor who had been in the audience. The investor, a seasoned entrepreneur with a reputation for spotting talent, was impressed by the CEO's vision and leadership. "I've been watching your career for a while," the investor said. "But after hearing you speak today, I'm convinced that you're onto something big. I'd like to explore how we can work together." The CEO was intrigued. He had always been cautious about partnerships, but this felt like an opportunity to take his company to the next level. They agreed to meet the following week to discuss potential collaborations. As he left the conference, the CEO felt a sense of excitement and possibility. He knew that this could be a turning point for his business, and for the impact he wanted to make in the world. But with new opportunities came new challenges. The CEO's growing visibility also attracted criticism from those who felt threatened by his success. Online trolls began targeting him with negative comments and false accusations. Some even tried to discredit his achievements, claiming that he had only succeeded because of special treatment. The CEO's team urged him to respond, but he chose to take the high road. "The truth will always come out," he told them. "Our focus should be on the work we're doing and the people we're helping." Despite the negativity, the CEO remained committed to his mission. He continued to use his platform to advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, both within his company and in the broader business community. He also made it a priority to mentor young entrepreneurs, especially those from marginalized backgrounds. For him, success wasn't just about building a profitable company, it was about creating opportunities for others to succeed as well. As the weeks went by, the CEO's influence continued to grow. He was featured in major publications, invited to speak at prestigious events, and even approached about writing a second book. But through it all, he stayed true to himself and his values. He knew that his journey was about more than just personal success, it was about paving the way for a more inclusive and equitable future. And as he looked ahead, the CEO couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude. The interview that had started it all was just one moment in a much larger story. A story of resilience, determination, and the power of standing up for what you believe in. And he was ready to keep writing that story, one chapter at a time. The meeting with the investor went better than the CEO could have imagined. Over coffee in a quiet corner of a bustling cafe, the two men discussed their visions for the future. The investor was not only impressed by the CEO's business acumen but also by his commitment to creating opportunities for others. "You're not just building a company," the investor said. "You're building a movement. And that's something I want to be a part of." By the end of their conversation, they had agreed to a partnership that would allow the CEO's company to expand its reach and impact. The investor's resources and connections would help the business grow, but more importantly, they would enable the CEO to scale his initiatives aimed at supporting underrepresented entrepreneurs. It was a win-win situation, and the CEO felt a renewed sense of purpose as he left the meeting. However, not everyone was thrilled about the new partnership. Rumors began to circulate in the industry, with some competitors suggesting that the CEO had sold out or was only successful because of his connections. These whispers made their way to the CEO, but he refused to let them distract him. "Let them talk," he told his team. "Our results will speak for themselves." And they did. Over the next few months, the company launched several new initiatives, including a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs and a fund to support minority-owned businesses. The CEO also used his platform to advocate for policy changes that would level the playing field for underrepresented groups in the business world. His efforts were met with widespread praise, and the company's reputation continued to grow. But as the CEO's influence expanded, so did the challenges. One day, he received a call from a journalist who was working on a story about his rise to success. The journalist had uncovered some old allegations from the CEO's early days in business, claims that had been dismissed years ago but were now being brought back into the spotlight. The CEO was blindsided. He had worked hard to build his reputation, and the thought of it being tarnished by old, unfounded accusations was devastating. The journalist's tone was neutral, but the CEO could sense the underlying skepticism. "I'm just doing my job," the journalist said. "But people are going to have questions. How do you want to respond?" The CEO took a deep breath. He knew that how he handled this situation could make or break his career. After a moment of reflection, he decided to address the issue head-on. "I have nothing to hide," he told the journalist. "Those allegations were investigated and proven false years ago. I've always conducted myself with integrity, and I stand by that." The journalist published the story, but to the CEO's relief, it was fair and balanced. It acknowledged the allegations but also highlighted the CEO's accomplishments and the positive impact he was making. Still, the experience left the CEO feeling vulnerable. It was a reminder that no matter how much success he achieved, there would always be people trying to bring him down. Despite the challenges, the CEO remained focused on his mission. He continued to push forward, using his platform to inspire and empower others. One of his proudest moments came when he received an award for his contributions to diversity and inclusion in business. As he stood on stage accepting the award, he looked out at the audience and felt a surge of emotion. "This isn't just about me," he said. "It's about all of us, about the people who have been told they don't belong, who have been overlooked and underestimated. This award is for them. It's a reminder that no matter where you come from or what obstacles you face, you can achieve greatness. And when you do, it's your responsibility to lift others up with you." The audience erupted into applause, and the CEO felt a sense of fulfillment that went beyond any business success. He knew that his journey was far from over, but he was ready to face whatever came next. With his team by his side and a growing community of supporters behind him, he was determined to keep making a difference, one step at a time. The CEO's award speech became another defining moment in his journey. It was shared widely across social media, inspiring countless individuals who saw themselves in his story. But with the increased visibility came even more scrutiny. The old allegations, though dismissed, continued to linger in the background, and some critics used them to question his credibility. The CEO knew he couldn't ignore the noise forever, but he also didn't want to give it more attention than it deserved. One evening, as he sat in his office reflecting on the situation, his phone buzzed. It was a message from a close friend and mentor, someone who had been with him since the early days of his career. "You've come too far to let this define you," the message read. "But sometimes, the best way to move forward is to confront the past head-on. Don't let anyone else control the narrative." Those words struck a chord. The CEO realized that by staying silent, he was allowing others to shape the story for him. He decided it was time to address the allegations publicly, not out of defensiveness, but to set the record straight and reclaim his narrative. He called his team and shared his plan. They agreed it was the right move and began preparing a statement. A few days later, the CEO held a press conference. The room was packed with journalists, cameras, and curious onlookers. He stepped up to the podium, his calm demeanor masking the weight of the moment. "Thank you all for being here," he began. "I've always believed in transparency, and today, I want to address something that has been circulating in the media." He went on to explain the history of the allegations, how they had been thoroughly investigated and proven false years ago. "I understand that in today's world, people are quick to judge," he said. "But I also believe in the power of truth. I've spent my career building a company and a legacy based on integrity, and I won't let baseless accusations overshadow that." The room was silent as he spoke, his words carrying a quiet strength. he didn't attack his critics or play the victim. Instead, he focused on the facts and reiterated his commitment to his values. "I'm not here to defend myself," he concluded. "I'm here to remind everyone that we all have a past, but it's what we do with our present and future that truly matters." The response was overwhelmingly positive. Many praised the CEO for his honesty and courage, while others criticized the media for dredging up old, irrelevant claims. The press conference didn't completely silence the critics, but it did shift the conversation. People began to focus less on the allegations and more on the CEO's ongoing work and impact. In the weeks that followed, the CEO noticed a change in how people approached him. There was a newfound respect, not just for his success, but for the way he had handled adversity. He received messages from other leaders who had faced similar challenges, thanking him for showing them how to navigate such situations with grace. The experience taught the CEO an important lesson, that leadership isn't just about achieving success, it's about how you handle the challenges that come with it. He felt more confident than ever in his ability to lead, not just his company, but also the growing community of people who looked to him for inspiration. As he looked ahead, the CEO knew there would be more obstacles to overcome. But he also knew that he had the strength, the support, and the clarity of purpose to face them head-on. And with that, he was ready to keep moving forward, one step at a time. With the press conference behind him, the CEO felt a renewed sense of focus. The experience had been draining, but it had also strengthened his resolve to stay true to his mission. He poured his energy into his work, launching new projects and expanding the initiatives that were making a real difference in people's lives. His company was thriving, and so was his influence as a leader. One of the most exciting developments was the launch of a nationwide scholarship program for students from underserved communities. The program aimed to provide not just financial support, but also mentorship and internship opportunities within the company. The CEO personally oversaw the selection process, reading through hundreds of applications and stories that moved him to tears. "These are the future leaders," he told his team. "And we have a responsibility to help them succeed." The scholarship program was met with widespread acclaim, further solidifying the CEO's reputation as a champion of diversity and inclusion. But as always, success came with its own set of challenges. The increased visibility of the program attracted criticism from those who felt it was unfair or exclusive. Some even accused the CEO of reverse discrimination, claiming that the program overlooked deserving candidates from other backgrounds. The CEO was no stranger to such criticism, but this time, it hit closer to home. He had poured his heart into the program, and the accusations felt like a personal attack. He called a meeting with his team to discuss how to respond. "We can't let these voices drown out the good we're doing," he said. "But we also can't ignore them. We need to address the concerns head-on." Together, they crafted a response that emphasized the program's goals and the systemic barriers it aimed to address. The CEO also took the opportunity to share his own story, explaining how programs like this could have made a difference in his life when he was younger. "This isn't about excluding anyone," he said in a public statement. "It's about leveling the playing field and giving everyone a fair shot at success." The response was well received, and the controversy gradually died down. But it left the CEO with a lingering sense of frustration. He knew that no matter how much good he did, there would always be people who misunderstood or opposed his efforts. It was a reminder that change is never easy, and that progress often comes with resistance. Despite the challenges, the CEO remained committed to his mission. He continued to use his platform to advocate for equity and inclusion, both within his company and in the broader business community. He also made it a priority to connect with the scholarship recipients, meeting with them personally and offering guidance and encouragement. For him, these interactions were a source of inspiration and a reminder of why he did what he did. As the months went by, the CEO began to see the impact of his work in tangible ways. The scholarship recipients were thriving, and many of them were already making waves in their respective fields. The mentorship program was fostering a new generation of leaders, and the company's initiatives were setting a standard for others to follow. The CEO knew that his journey was far from over. There would always be more work to do, more challenges to face, and more lives to touch. But as he looked back on how far he had come, he felt a deep sense of gratitude and pride. He had turned his struggles into strength, his pain into purpose, and his success into a platform for change. And he was ready to keep going, one step at a time. The CEO's scholarship program continued to gain momentum, and its impact was undeniable. Stories of the recipients' achievements began to surface, showcasing how the program was transforming lives. One recipient, a young woman from a rural community, had developed a groundbreaking app to help small farmers access resources and markets. Another, a first-generation college student, had launched a nonprofit to provide free tutoring to underprivileged kids. These stories became a testament to the power of opportunity and the importance of the CEO's mission. However, not everyone celebrated these successes. A prominent media outlet published an article criticizing the program, arguing that it was unfair to other students and questioning its long-term effectiveness. The article sparked a heated debate online, with some people siding with the critics and others defending the program. The CEO knew he couldn't ignore the backlash, but he also didn't want to engage in a public feud. Instead, he decided to take a different approach. He invited the journalist who had written the article to visit the company and meet some of the scholarship recipients in person. The journalist, though skeptical, agreed. Over the course of the day, the CEO introduced her to several students and shared their stories. He also explained the systemic barriers they had faced and how the program was designed to address them. By the end of the visit, the journalist's perspective had shifted. "I came here with doubts," she admitted. "But seeing the impact firsthand, it's hard to argue with results." A week later, the journalist published a follow-up article, this time highlighting the program's successes and the CEO's commitment to creating opportunities for others. The piece was widely shared, and the conversation around the program began to change. People started to see it not as a handout, but as an investment in the future. The CEO was relieved, but he also knew that this was just one battle in a much larger war. Around the same time, the CEO faced another challenge, this time, within his own company. A group of employees had raised concerns about the lack of diversity in senior leadership roles. While the company had made strides in hiring and supporting employees from underrepresented backgrounds, the leadership team remained predominantly homogeneous. The CEO was taken aback. He had always prided himself on fostering an inclusive culture, but he realized that there was still work to be done. He called a meeting with the employees who had raised the concerns, listening carefully to their experiences and suggestions. "I appreciate your honesty," he told them. "This is a wake-up call for me, and I'm committed to doing better." Over the next few weeks, the CEO worked with his team to develop a plan to address the issue. They implemented new policies to ensure diverse representation in leadership roles and created a task force to oversee the company's diversity and inclusion efforts. The changes weren't easy, and they didn't happen overnight. But the CEO was determined to lead by example, even if it meant confronting uncomfortable truths. He knew that true progress required humility and a willingness to listen and learn. And as he watched the company evolve, he felt a sense of pride in the culture they were building, one where everyone had a seat at the table. The CEO's journey was far from over, but he was more committed than ever to his mission. He had faced criticism, controversy, and self-doubt, but he had also seen the incredible impact of his work. And as he looked ahead, he knew that every challenge was an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to make a difference. The changes within the company began to yield positive results. The new diversity and inclusion initiatives were well received, and employees felt more empowered to share their ideas and concerns. The leadership team became more reflective of the company's diverse workforce, and the CEO made it a point to regularly check in with employees at all levels. It wasn't just about numbers or optics, it was about creating a culture where everyone felt valued and heard. One day, the CEO received an email from a young employee who had joined the company through the scholarship program. She wrote about how inspired she was by the changes and shared her own aspirations to one day take on a leadership role. "I used to think people like me didn't belong in places like this," she wrote. "But seeing the steps you're taking to make this company more inclusive gives me hope. Thank you for showing me that I can dream big." The email touched the CEO deeply. It was a reminder of why he had started this journey in the first place, not just to build a successful company, but to create opportunities for others to succeed. He made it a point to meet with the young employee, offering guidance and encouragement. "You're the future of this company," he told her. "And I'm here to make sure you have everything you need to succeed." As the company continued to grow, the CEO's influence extended beyond its walls. He was invited to speak at conferences, sit on panels, and advise policymakers on issues related to diversity and inclusion. His story had become a symbol of resilience and hope, and people looked to him for leadership and inspiration. But with the increased visibility came even greater responsibility. One evening, as the CEO prepared for a major speech at a global business summit, he found himself reflecting on his journey. He thought about the challenges he had faced, the lessons he had learned, and the people who had supported him along the way. He realized that his success wasn't just his own, it was the result of countless sacrifices, acts of kindness, and moments of courage. And he knew that he had a responsibility to pay it forward. The next day, as he stood on the stage in front of hundreds of leaders from around the world, the CEO felt a sense of calm. He began by sharing his story, but this time, he focused less on his achievements and more on the people who had helped him along the way. He talked about his mother, who had worked tirelessly to provide for their family, and the mentors who had believed in him when no one else did. He also spoke about the employees, partners, and supporters who had made his company's success possible. "None of us succeed alone," he said. "We are all standing on the shoulders of those who came before us, and it's our responsibility to lift others up as we climb." That's what true leadership is about, not just achieving success, but creating opportunities for others to succeed. The audience was captivated. His words resonated deeply, and many in the room felt inspired to take action in their own organizations. After the speech, the CEO was approached by several leaders who wanted to learn more about his initiatives and how they could implement similar programs in their companies. He was happy to share his insights, knowing that collaboration was key to driving meaningful change. But even as he celebrated these successes, the CEO remained grounded. He knew that the work was far from over and that there would always be new challenges to face. One such challenge came in the form of a competitor who began spreading false rumors about the company's practices. The rumors were baseless, but they threatened to damage the company's reputation. The CEO's team urged him to respond aggressively, but he chose a different approach. Instead of engaging in a public feud, he released a statement reaffirming the company's values and commitment to integrity. "We don't have time for distractions," he told his team. "Our focus should be on the work we're doing and the impact we're making. The truth will always come out." His calm and measured response earned him respect, and the rumors eventually faded away. But the experience was a reminder that success often comes with resistance, and that staying true to one's values is the best way to navigate challenges. As the CEO looked ahead, he felt a sense of optimism. He had built a company that was not only successful but also impactful. He had inspired countless individuals and sparked a movement for change. And he knew that as long as he stayed true to his mission, there was no limit to what he, and the people he was lifting up, could achieve. The CEO's calm handling of the rumors about his company further solidified his reputation as a leader who prioritized integrity over ego. The incident became a case study in crisis management, and the CEO was invited to share his approach at several leadership forums. He used these opportunities to emphasize the importance of staying focused on one's mission, even in the face of adversity. When you know your why, the how becomes easier, he often said. No amount of noise can distract you from your purpose. As the months passed, the CEO's company continued to thrive. The scholarship program expanded to include international students, and the mentorship initiative became a model for other organizations. The company's commitment to diversity and inclusion was recognized with numerous awards, but the CEO remained humble. He knew that the real measure of success was the impact they were making on people's lives. One of the most rewarding aspects of his work was seeing the scholarship recipients flourish. Many of them had gone on to achieve remarkable things, from launching startups to leading community projects. The CEO made it a point to stay connected with them, offering guidance and support whenever needed. For him, these relationships were a source of inspiration and a reminder of why he did what he did. But as the company grew, so did its challenges. The CEO found himself grappling with the complexities of scaling a business while staying true to its values. He faced tough decisions, from navigating market fluctuations to managing internal conflicts. One particularly difficult situation arose when a key executive resigned unexpectedly, leaving a gap in the leadership team. The CEO knew that finding the right replacement was crucial, not just for the company's success, but for its culture. After a thorough search, the CEO hired a talented woman who had been a scholarship recipient years ago. She had gone on to build an impressive career and was widely respected in the industry. Her appointment was met with enthusiasm, but it also sparked a debate about nepotism. Some questioned whether she had been chosen because of her connection to the CEO rather than her qualifications. The CEO addressed the concerns head-on, explaining that while her journey had started with the scholarship program, her achievements and expertise spoke for themselves. This isn't about favoritism, he said. It's about recognizing talent and giving people the opportunity to shine. She earned this role, just like anyone else would. The new executive quickly proved herself, bringing fresh ideas and energy to the team. Her success silenced the critics and reinforced the CEO's belief in the power of opportunity. It also highlighted the importance of creating pathways for underrepresented talent to rise through the ranks. Around the same time, the CEO faced a personal challenge. His mother, who had been his biggest supporter and inspiration, fell ill. The news hit him hard, and for the first time in years, he felt the weight of his responsibilities becoming overwhelming. He took a step back from work to spend time with her, delegating tasks to his trusted team. It was a difficult decision, but he knew it was the right one. During this time, the CEO reflected on the lessons his mother had taught him, lessons about resilience, kindness, and the importance of giving back. He realized that her influence had shaped not just his career, but his entire approach to leadership. When she passed away, he was heartbroken, but he also felt a deep sense of gratitude for the time they had shared. The CEO returned to work with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the best way to honor his mother's legacy was to continue the work they had both believed in. He launched a foundation in her name, focused on supporting single parents and their children. The initiative was met with overwhelming support, and it quickly became one of the company's most impactful programs. As the CEO looked ahead, he felt a mix of emotions. He was proud of what he had accomplished, but he also knew that there was still so much to do. The challenges would keep coming, but he was ready to face them with the same resilience and determination that had brought him this far. And as he stood on the stage at yet another event, sharing his story and inspiring others, he felt a sense of fulfillment that went beyond any award or accolade. He had turned his struggles into strength, his pain into purpose, and his success into a platform for change. And he was ready to keep going, one step at a time. The foundation named in honor of the CEO's mother quickly became a beacon of hope for single parents and their children. It provided financial assistance, mentorship, and resources to help families overcome the challenges they faced. The CEO poured his heart into the initiative, knowing it was a way to keep his mother's spirit alive. Stories of the foundation's impact began to surface, and it wasn't long before it gained national attention. People from all walks of life reached out to express their gratitude, and the CEO found solace in knowing that his mother's legacy was making a difference. As the foundation grew, so did the CEO's influence. He was no longer just a business leader, he had become a symbol of resilience, compassion, and the power of giving back. His story inspired countless individuals, and his initiative set a new standard for corporate social responsibility. But with the increased visibility came even greater scrutiny. Every decision he made was analyzed, and every misstep was magnified. The CEO knew that this was the price of leadership, but it didn't make it any easier. One day, the CEO received a letter from a young boy whose mother had been helped by the foundation. The boy wrote about how the foundation had given his family a second chance and how he dreamed of one day becoming a leader like the CEO. "You've shown me that no matter how hard life gets, there's always hope," the boy wrote. "Thank you for giving me something to believe in." The letter brought tears to the CEO's eyes. It was a reminder of why he did what he did, not for the accolades or the recognition, but for the lives he could touch and the hope he could inspire. He framed the letter and hung it in his office, where it served as a daily reminder of his purpose. Despite the challenges, the CEO remained committed to his mission. He continued to push forward, launching new initiatives and expanding existing ones. His company became a model for others, proving that it was possible to achieve success while staying true to one's values. But the CEO knew that the work was far from over. There were still barriers to break, inequalities to address, and lives to change. One of the most significant milestones in the CEO's journey came when he was invited to speak at a global summit on leadership and social impact. The event brought together some of the most influential leaders in the world, and the CEO was honored to be among them. As he stood on the stage, looking out at the audience, he felt a sense of humility and gratitude. He began his speech by sharing his story, but this time, he focused on the lessons he had learned along the way. He spoke about the importance of resilience, the power of community, and the need to lift others up as we climb. "Leadership isn't about titles or accolades," he said. "It's about making a difference in the lives of others. It's about using your platform to create opportunities and inspire change." The audience was captivated, and when he finished, they gave him a standing ovation. The CEO felt a sense of fulfillment that went beyond any award or recognition. He knew that his journey was about more than just personal success, it was about the impact he could make and the legacy he could leave behind. As the summit came to an end, the CEO was approached by several leaders who wanted to collaborate on initiatives to drive social change. He was excited about the possibilities and knew that these partnerships could amplify the impact of his work. But he also knew that the real work happened on the ground, in the communities and lives he was trying to touch. The CEO returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face it with the same determination and resilience that had brought him this far. And as he looked back on his journey, he felt a deep sense of gratitude, for the people who had supported him, the lessons he had learned, and the opportunities he had been given. The CEO's story was far from over. There were still chapters to be written, challenges to be faced, and lives to be changed. But as he stood on the balcony of his office, looking out at the city skyline, he felt a sense of peace. He had turned his struggles into strength, his pain into purpose, and his success into a platform for change. And he was ready to keep going, one step at a time.